Good evening from New York. A so-called grassroots movement as fake as the purportedly spontaneous Tea Party protests that broke out on tax day, as fake as the Kenyan birth certificate of President Obama that has been posted online, which refers to a city and a republic that did not yet exist, as fake as Governor Palin's oath to serve the people of Alaska for 4 years. Our fifth story on the countdown, the astroturfing of health care reform in a desperate bid to defeat it. Remarkable new video tonight of fake grassroots protesters working from scripts, disrupting the town hall meetings of Democratic lawmakers. In Austin, Texas, over the weekend, protesters shouting down Congressman Lloyd Doggett after he said he probably would vote for a single-payer health care plan, even if he found out his constituents were against it, exactly as demonstrators were told to do in that memo of instructions titled Rocking the Town Hall's Best Practices, written and distributed by FreedomWorks, the same organization that brought you the fake Tea Party protests. FreedomWorks, run by lobbyist Dick Armey, the former Republican majority leader, funded by the usual group of right-wing billionaires. It is likely, however, that most voters in that congressman's district are in favor of significant health care reform. The Texas 25th, Mr. Doggett's, one of the most liberal in that state. It is even more likely that most protesters in that audience did not even live in Congressman Doggett's district. Patients United, a front group maintained by corporate-funded Americans for Prosperity, now busing people all over the country to town halls, probably including to this one in Philadelphia yesterday. The speakers were HHS Secretary Sebelius and Senator Erwin Specter. That protester there is holding a Bible. Boss Limbaugh today falsely describing that Philadelphia town hall as Senator Specter and Secretary Sebelius getting hell from average Americans who know they're full of it. Minority Leader Boehner and Michelle Malkin also applauding the disruptions. Malkin unfortunately invoking the bloodshed of Iraq in describing these scripted protests as, quote, counterinsurgencies.
And I've been covering the Tea Party movement, these counterinsurgencies among taxpayer rights groups. And I think that this administration and the Democrats have vastly underestimated just how grassroots this movement is.
She also believes in ghosts. Time now to call in Senator Bernie Sanders, independent of Vermont, member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Senator, good to talk to you again, sir.
Good to be with you, Pete.
These tactics, both the phony protests and the sycophants applauding the phony protests, do the tactics surprise you at all?
No, not at all. The fact of the matter is that these people talk about freedom, and what they are doing is trying to disrupt meetings, which is the absolute opposite of what freedom of discussion is about. And the reason for that is they are afraid to debate the real issues, the fact that we have a disintegrating healthcare system, that we have tens of millions uninsured, underinsured, 18,000 Americans die every year because they don't get to a doctor on time. We got 1 million Americans this year going bankrupt because of medically related bills, and these people are screaming and yelling so that we can't have a real discussion of the real issues.
Presuming you have to win both on the issues and the screaming and yelling, how do you win on the screaming and yelling when that is spun as the rage of average Americans in most of the media?
Well, you know, it gets back to the media doing what they did in Iraq, which is distorting reality. You remember during the debate in Iraq, Keith, we were told that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and Iraq was working with al-Qaeda. Well, it turned out not to be true. And what these guys are doing, what they are saying is grossly untrue. They are talking about a government takeover of health care. Untrue. They are talking, if you can believe this, in 2009 about the President of the United States wanting to kill off older people. So the answer is, if you want to have a real debate on the real issues, let's do it. Let's ask, for example, why countries around the world are providing better quality of care than we are at 1/2 the cost. Let's ask why we are the only nation in the industrialized world that does not have a national health care program guaranteeing all of their people. Those are the kinds of questions that we've got to be debating.
A question about Senator Enzi of Wyoming. Last week he said he wanted to guarantee that anything that came out of the Finance Committee ends up in the final legislation that's passed. And today he's rejected this September 15th deadline for his committee to reach agreement on the bill. Are we seeing the outlines of the latest Republican plan, just never let the legislation out of committee?
Look, let's be clear. There are virtually no Republicans in the Senate who are serious about health care reforms. That's the simple reality. And what they keep doing is stalling and stalling and stalling and trying to confuse people. Now, the truth of the matter is the Democrats have not been particularly effective in also saying and stating the case as to why we need real health care reform. Bottom line is the system is disintegrating. Bottom line is we spend twice as much as any other country. Our outcomes are worse. Bottom line is the vast majority of the people want a public option among other reforms.
Another bottom line, though, is delaying this, just delaying this. Is that victory enough for the health industries? I mean, how many million a day do they collectively profit that would go out the window if there was this public option that would tamp down insurance prices? Well,
that's absolutely right. According to the papers just today, the healthcare industry has spent $130 million in the last quarter. And that is the reason why our private insurance companies are reaping huge profits, why the drug companies charge the American people by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Of course they don't want healthcare reform. Of course they'll do everything to try to stop us.
Last question, Senator, a prediction. Is this legislation eventually going to require passage by reconciliation?
Reconciliation is one of the tools that we have. My hope is that every Democrat will vote against the Republican filibuster. We'll pick up maybe one Republican. We'll do something serious and real for the American people.
Amen. Senator Bernie Sanders, the great independent of Vermont. Once again, great thanks for your time tonight, sir.
Good to be with you.